team
I love
jersey.
that. Ready? All right, welcome back to the Athlete Empowered Podcast. I am Dr. Sean Drake, and we got Michael Kowalski over here. We're your hosts. I'm really excited about our guest today, not only because he is a phenomenal athlete, but he has to be one of the most amazing human beings I know, Matt Chapman. Let's just start out real quick. Tell a little bit about where you're at in your life right now and just how you got to where you are, like the background behind baseball and you as just being a phenomenal human being.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Dr. Drake. I feel this very similar about you. I know, we have a great relationship, and over these past couple of years, and it's only getting better. So I think the possibilities for us are, just starting. But for me, my baseball journey right now, currently, I'm a free agent in the major leagues. I just finished up my seventh season in the major leagues. So waiting on a few things. So stay tuned on that one. But for my baseball journey, geez, I think I was holding a baseball bat before I could even walk. My dad grew up loving baseball, played college baseball. So, if you go back to any of my baby videos or a little kid, I was in a baseball uniform or crawling, holding a baseball bat, trying to swing it before I could walk. So I think it was something that I was going to always end up doing and something I was going to love. But it wasn't like I had to have it pushed on me. I think I just kind of had it in me, and it's something that I always wanted to do. For me, geez, growing up, obviously as a kid, I don't know if everybody knows this, but when I was a kid, I grew up and I had Tourette's. So growing up when I was younger, I was kind of a spazzy, twitchy little kid, and I didn't always feel comfortable maybe in my own skin in certain situations growing up as a kid. So baseball was always a good escape for me. It was somewhere that I felt comfortable, I felt confident, and I felt like it was somewhere where I could really shine. So for me, I think that's where my passion developed. For that reason is that I think how I fell in love with baseball is somewhere where I felt the most free and the most comfortable, and along with other sports, but mostly baseball.
What other sports? I guess that's really important because you're not only are you a great athlete, but being a great athlete that consistently stays on the field.
Yeah. So I think, I played a lot of different sports growing up. So I think that helps with your athleticism and just being a kid and being outside. But um, for me, so you want to know how I've been able to stay healthy throughout
We'll
these?
get there, but let's talk
Okay.
about the other sports because so
Okay.
many parents now and people that are listening, they want to go into sports specialization.
Right.
And I always preach that we got to build the athlete first. And being a multi-sport athlete to me is one of the most important ways to be a great athlete. What were some of the other sports you did and a couple of stories around that?
Yeah. So I think, baseball and soccer were probably the first two sports that I played, and I really enjoyed that. And then I started playing hockey when I was younger. I played hockey for a few years. And then once you were going from, hockey practice to soccer to baseball, you got to choose, you got to kind of narrow that down. So it actually then it switched to baseball and football.
Okay.
Um, and then it switched from that to baseball and lacrosse in middle school. I played on my lacrosse middle school team. And then freshman year of high school, I played football and baseball. And then after my freshman year of high school, baseball got a lot more serious. And my coach kind of wanted me to just focus on baseball. So I ended up, um, you know, not playing football anymore and just focusing on baseball from my sophomore to senior year. But I was always playing different sports. I was always playing outside. Never played like organized basketball, but we were always playing pickup basketball or going to play football with kids and always playing. So I was always playing and always sort of riding skateboards and riding bikes and or wakeboarding or surfing or skiing or whatever. Like anything I could do, I was doing. So I felt like I was always pretty athletic, able to do things, and I think that's huge for kids. Is to nowadays you see they're trying to just specialize. Kids in little league are pitchers only. Or like something like that where it's crazy and you start to see all these injuries and things that you never saw in kids when they're so young. So, if I could tell any kid or any parent anything, it'd be let your kid play as many sports as he or she wants and let them, play every position and just have fun, because it's going to get competitive when it's supposed to, and it's going to be competitive probably sooner than you think. So try to keep it fun, try to have fun with it. I think that I fell in love with baseball because I had fun, as well. I had fun with all my buddies and going on to play tournaments in different states or whatever it is, and going on road trips with your dad and your buddies, and just all those memories are just as important as the memories I have growing up on the field, as the ones, in the hotels with your friends or whatever you guys are up to, just having fun. So I think those memories and those friendships last for a long time. So try not to make it too serious too fast and have fun, because believe me, it'll get serious.
A couple things you just said there, I'm learning about you, and I love extreme sports. And so when it comes to skateboarding, skydiving, surfing, wakeboarding, those are all things that, I
Yeah.
grew up doing. And I really find that, when you are developing an athlete, that balance, that ability to be on a board or be on a skateboard or a wake skate, translates completely into being a rotational
Balance,
athlete.
and for sure, and balance, and foot strength, and just kind of like, I guess, like body control.
Yeah.
So obviously, growing up in Southern California, I was exposed to a lot of all of that. A lot of my friends were a lot better at all of those things than me, but I really enjoyed wakeboarding a lot, and I enjoyed snowboarding. I think those are probably my favorite things to do. Skateboarding and surfing is really hard, and something you got to keep at. So I think for me, it was more so just kind of having fun in the street, skating, and just doing whatever.
What kind of skateboard did you have?
I had a Plan B
Nice.
skateboard,
Okay.
P-Rod,
What kind of trucks?
Independent.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then Spitfire wheels, I'm pretty sure. So,
Sweet.
but yeah, it was always fun to make a skateboard and do that kind of stuff. But I think for if I have a kid one day, I think I'm gonna let them do those things and make sure that they go, skiing and do all those things to have fun and experience every kind of sport that they can.
I love that. What was your favorite mountain that you got to snowboard?
Honestly, living in Southern California, went to Big Bear a lot. Probably not my favorite. Mammoth was always cool, big mountain, but I think Tahoe was probably the most fun I had skiing. Was in Tahoe.
I love Tahoe.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's and this is the thing that we try to portray, is like the empowerment of the athlete, right? And so often I feel bad for a lot of the kids out there nowadays that they're being forced into one thing, or they're being forced into like a situation and not allowing, like you brought up, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, so many kids nowadays, they're on their screen, they're depressed, they've got all these things going on in the mental side, but they have no way to like express it and get it out. So I love when I get to have my little, I call you, these are my little brothers, everybody. But when I have my little brothers in and I hear their backstory, and that they've had this like alternative and diverse upbringing, because I think it just helps you to be the amazing athlete you are. Coming back to baseball, because obviously spring training is going on right now. You're a free agent, and I think there's some things that I want to portray to the audience. Is number one, what would you say is the biggest lesson you learned when you first got into the league? That kind of set a trajectory, or somebody that might have motivated you or influenced you to where you are right now?
I think that the biggest thing that I learned when I got to the major leagues was, first off, how hard it is, but then also how important it is to believe in yourself and realize that you're there for a reason, and that you're good enough. It took me, I think so, it took me a little bit, because I'd always had success at every level in the minor leagues that I'd gone to, and then I got to the major leagues and I struggled a little bit. And when I say struggled a little bit, probably for the first like month or so, I just, I was probably hitting 190 for the first like 30 or 40 games. I did get a staph infection when I first got to the major leagues, went to the hospital. It was kind of a wild ride. But
what happened there?
So I don't know what happened, but we played the Yankees. I got called up. We swept the Yankees in 4 games. Vibes were high. Everything was great. And all of a sudden, after the game, I look at it like a golf ball on my kneecap. And, so they put me on some antibiotics, and then 3 days later, my knees and from here to here is just red and swollen. I had to go to the hospital, and I was in the hospital for like a week.
Wow.
And then I came back and played. So no excuses there, but I did not start off my career very well in the major leagues. And then I hadn't hit any homers. It was kind of like, oh man, like, I want to prove that I'm good enough. I want to prove that I can stick here. And then I ended up hitting 2 homers my first game off of Corey Kluber, who's obviously a amazing pitcher. That's Cy Young Award winner. Speaks for itself. Amazing player. So, and I think that kind of moment for me was like, okay, I hit 2 homers in a game. One ended up, winning that game for us, and realizing that, okay, like if I can do it off this guy, I can do it. And then I ended up starting to string together good games, start believing in myself, and then kind of the rest was history from there, and just took off for the next few years. And I think for me, I think the thing I learned in the big leagues was it's like you need to obviously respect the people who have come before you, respect, you know, what they've done, respect your opponents, don't take anything for granted, but also be able to believe in yourself. And, there's a way to do that without being cocky and, showing people up. But I think if you can, that's how you're going to have success. You got to believe in yourself and be confident. And, sometimes you have to prove it to yourself to do that. It's hard to just come into the major leagues and not have success and think you belong. Like for me, I had to see it. And then I think that was the biggest thing for me, is once I saw that, I was like, okay, I can do this. And, I don't have to look back.
Let's stay on that, because I think that's a really important concept. Mental health and also your mental performance. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what do you do for your mental practice?
For me, that's something that I've set a big goal for myself this year, is I want to take that kind of to the next level. Because for me, I think the reason I say that is, the beginning of my career, I was just, all I wanted to do was prove myself, prove myself, prove myself. And I did. And I think that's what motivated me. Somebody tuned in.
Technology.
Wow. How about that?
All right.
Is it still recording?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we're
let's just
still
keep
good.
going, and
Okay.
we'll figure that out. Sorry about that.
No. Looks like somebody's at the
Bring
gym
them,
or something.
yeah.
Somebody's watching, which is sorry for the diversion, but we do have somebody watching here.
Cool. That's good. Thanks for
Okay. All right, we're live. So where was I?
Something that we're focused on
mental.
this year.
The
Yeah.
mental, right? So I think early in my career, that's I didn't really focus on my mental. It wasn't even great. I just was like so ready to prove myself that was what motivated me, and that's what got me in the zone, and that's how I just like and that kind of exhausted me, at some points. And then I think the next part of my career, I didn't feel like I needed to prove myself. I wanted to just keep doing it. And then I would, there was flashes of, like I've always shown the flashes of greatness and this and that. And it's like, and I've always had good years, but it's like, I know that there's more, and I know that there's more. And for me, it's not a physical limitation. I can hit the ball, I can hit the ball hard. I can run fast. I can throw the ball hard. I can catch the ball. I've done those things, but for me, it's about the consistency. And I think for me, the way to be that consistent is to have more of a mental, be in control of my mental state more, and be a little bit more routine oriented for my mind, just because I am for my body, and I've been able to stay healthy and do things. But for my mind, and I think that is just quieting your mind, and that when I play my best, I'm quiet in my mind. I feel lighter. I'm able to just kind of flow and be in the game and just play. And I'm in the moment. I'm not thinking about other things. I'm just playing. And I know that's probably what most people would say, but I think for me, my focus this year is going to be, okay, how do I get myself there more than not? You're going to have days where you're not like feeling good, but there's days last year, I'm sure I put more pressure on myself than in a normal season, maybe being the free agent year, whatever it is, or feeling like I had to do more, I had to do this or that, and it's like, I won April Player of the Month last year, and then I kind of just like couldn't get it back. And I think I was trying to put pressure on myself to get back to the top, instead of just focusing on like, what was my mind state like? What was I thinking about then? And it was like, I knew what I wanted to do, and I just went and did it, and it's like, so for me, I guess long-winded answer, for me, my focus this year is really going to hold myself more accountable to having more mental awareness and a mental checklist of like, okay, how am I going to start getting myself here before the games? And then that's going to give me the quiet mind and the confidence, and not allow me to kind of like, because I can get myself sped up a little bit and thinking too fast and trying to just like do too much or go. And that's when I don't make the best decisions, at the plate, and I'm not making the best plays that I need to make on defense when I'm in that mode. I do better when I'm slow and I'm, and that is quick for me. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It's not a physical limitation that I have. It's mental, and it's just being able to put myself in that state of mind, and then when you feel like that, you don't not only do you play better, but you feel better, and your confidence is better because you're not wearing, like, I'll just beat myself down every day, and and just be way too hard on myself, or just you know want to do too much and put the pressure, whatever it is. But all those things don't happen when you're in that other state. So it's
Yeah.
like get myself there.
I love that you mentioned flow state, because you and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
And whether it's in sport or in life, I feel like if you can get to that flow state, you can express your most authentic self. And when you have that, it's just like peaceful. And then within that peace, now we have the opportunity to really go into that limitless performance.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your routine, because you brought up like the mental routine, but one thing that is, I just think, like one of your greatest qualities is that every time we talk, you're like, okay, what can I do better? How can I be more efficient? How can I be more consistent? Those are words you used earlier in this talk as well. But consistency is what leads to greatness. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'll try this for a little bit, and then they get off, and then they're like, well, why am I not, being successful? So talk a little bit about your routine, because you said physical limitations, we got mental limitations.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what you do from a physical standpoint
Mhm.
that's consistent, that helps you stay healthy, because you play
Yeah.
the entire season.
For sure.
And
I
that's
try to
one of your
play it
secret
every day
powers.
as
Yeah.
I can, right? I try to play every single day. I want to play every single day. Besides a few, you know, freaky things where I banged up a finger last year, or I banged up, my hand one season, something like that. I try to play every single day. And for me, I've developed a pretty good routine. First off, I think the treatment that you can get in the with the trainers and stuff is great. And I think it's, when you need it, and you need to get it. But, and I try to take care as much as I can on my own, with getting myself, in the off season, obviously I have access to you and different kind of things that I can do. So it's easier in the off season to, I'm in here all the time. I'm doing the PMF mat stuff at home. I'm doing the red light sauna, the cold plunge, the everything, and it's like, so I'm doing all of that stuff on the off season. But in the season, obviously you're not able to, whether it's travel and this or that, you're not always able to stay as consistent. But, the way I look at it is something is better than nothing. And I've learned my body more throughout the years, but it's like, I'm not going to play a game just cold. I'm not going to go into a game. Yeah, I might not have like the best, you might not have the best energy that day, and you don't want to like go through your full entire thing, but it's like, I got to get my shoulder, my hips, and my core and things going, so it's like, I'll have different routines. It's like, all right, quick turnaround, short game. Like, hey, I don't want to do this. I'd love to just eat breakfast and sit there at the table until the game to take a few swings and play. But yeah, I might feel okay. And then after travel day, I'm going to feel terrible the next day. And it's like, and I want to play every day. So it's like, I got to get a sweat going. I got to get myself ready. So it's like, I try to get a sweat going before I get out there every day, and then get the body going, get, different parts of my body activated. Cause it's like, I want to throw hard and run hard and do things. So it's like, I don't want to, I'm not going to be able to do that to my best if I'm not doing that. And it's like, and also it's like, not only do it for yourself, but it's like, do it for the team. Because if you actually want to win, and you should put yourself in the best position to play well. Because if you want to help the team win, or you want to make a play for a pitcher on defense, if I was a pitcher and I saw the position players just sitting around not doing, anything all day, and then, that dude boots a ball for me, I'm going to be like, what the fuck, like, I'm going to be pissed. So, there's a million things that go into it, but it's like, for me, like, I have pride in taking care of myself. If you want to help lead a team, you got to take care of yourself and do the right things. But it doesn't mean you can't have fun. Doesn't mean you can't do things. Like, it just means that you got to just get yourself prepared to play that day. And, that's worked out well for me this far. Obviously, everybody's had injuries and things, but, if you want to play every day, that's how you do it.
I love that. Let's go back a little bit in the career. Talk about a momental like moment for you, like that just sticks in your mind, that you can come back to, that you're like, man, like that opened my heart, that opened my soul, that made me excited, that empowered me. And it could be anything from, something that happened on the baseball field, something that happened on the road, a person. What's one, like a story that has empowered you in baseball?
Man. there's so many that it's hard to what point in my career do you want like minor leagues,
Yeah, in the minor league,
college,
like
or
in the minor league, like I think that, or even college, like as you're getting started, because a lot of guys, and the reason that I asked this question is a lot of guys will get started, they'll have something happen, and they'll lose that motivation, they'll lose that drive. But then there's times that you have this like spark in your career that shows you, okay, yep, this is where I'm going.
for sure. You know, I for me, I've been lucky. I've had so many good coaches throughout my whole life. Even growing up when I was younger, like, and the they taught us how to, I think the mental game is stressed a little bit, but like they just made us like, so we practiced a lot in California.
Mhm.
You practiced a lot even in college and high school. But like I've had so many good coaches that have always, motivated me one way or another. You know, a lot of them positive, some trying to get under your skin, whatever it is. I've had a lot of people motivate me, and I've been super fortunate to come and build all these relationships through my career. I think for me, um, you know, I'm I'm very easily motivated. I don't want to say that nobody's motivated me before, because I don't think that's the case. It's hard to maybe pinpoint one. I would just say that all of my coaches have really helped me. Um, you know, sometimes I can get down on myself, I think. And I think that for me, it's about, I think that the most valuable things are the people that have helped pick me back up, in those, in those moments. I've had a lot of good coaches that have been able to see when I'm down, and see, being able to kind of, motivate me and give me some more confidence and things like that. So that's what I'm really grateful for. And I think when it comes to motivation, for me, I've always been very motivated, and it's almost never satisfied, to
Mhm.
almost like a sickness. So I think that I'm never going to be satisfied with however I'm doing. So I'm going to always continue to work. And I think that probably is rooted in me from being younger and feeling like I've always had a chip on my shoulder, and I've always had something to prove. And that maybe I was a little bit different than people, and I wasn't like other people. So I always felt like I had something to prove in that area. And I think that that's kind of never left me.
I love that. Is there any books that you've read over the years that you think have been instrumental in helping you become who you are?
One book that I'm reading again that I really like, is The Inner Game of Tennis.
Oh, I love that game. Oh, it's such a good book.
That's a great book. So I think that one just really hits home for me. I have to keep reading it because I, for some reason, like to forget the lessons that I'm taught in that book. But I think like being aware, making me a more aware of self one and self two, and like being able to get out of your own way,
Mhm.
and just allow yourself. And that, I think that's why I'm reading it again right now, and it's hitting home, because that's what I feel like I do to myself, is I get in my own way. And
Yeah.
it's like, instead of allowing myself to just do do what I've practiced and do what I've done my whole life, and just let myself do it, instead of like trying to let my mind mess it all up. So I think that's probably the best book that I've read for that, and just believing that, um, you know, you can really achieve anything if you just get out of your own way and quiet your mind. And that's kind of why I want to develop that mental routine of being able to quiet my mind and be in that state before the game.
And I think that, as we talk about this, let's lead into technology. So it's something that you're diving heavy into, and I love it. And when we get to talk about, how do we keep ourselves healthy, traveling on the road, at home. Let's talk about cold exposure for a minute and cold plunging, because, I think it's one of the things that I'm really, really, excited about, obviously. But I think when you look at adaptation, nervous system, getting into that quietness, that zone, talk a little bit about your experience with cold exposure, cold plunging, what it's done for you, and how you see it helping you in your everyday life, and obviously on the field.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think that it's a love-hate relationship sometimes, because especially in Arizona, and those sneaky cold mornings when you don't want to get in. For the most part, I got in, but it's for me, it helps quiet my mind. Like I referenced having, Tourette's earlier, but like, so like that's a central nervous system thing. And I'm just kind of wired that way where I'm go, 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 go. And, like my mind is very active and not quieted easily. So I think for me, getting in there just kind of slows everything down because you don't really have a choice, and it kind of just slows everything down, quiets you down, and you fight it, but all you can really do is breathe. And for me, I think it's yeah, get out of there always just feeling better. And I think that there's a lot of benefits to it, and everybody should probably try to do it. And I think doing it for me in the morning before I'd go to my workouts is the best for me because kind of just naturally heat up again, and then your body feels good.
Yeah, I think it's also setting that intention in
Yeah,
the morning,
for
right?
sure,
And
for
like,
sure.
and knowing that
It's
you
all,
accomplished something right off the
yeah,
bat.
I didn't bring that up, but yeah, you did teach me that one, and I definitely set. I for the most part I've been setting the same one for a while, but I kind of have been switching it up here and there. But I always set some sort of intention and keep it on in my mind as I'm in there, and it definitely helps, and it definitely makes you not. It gives you that extra motivation not to get out before you hear that
I love it.
that timer.
And talk about breath work.
That's, I mean, another thing that I want to get better at doing,
Mhm.
is because I think that for me is another thing that can just all the things that allow you to quiet your mind and calm yourself. And I think that that's something that I want to incorporate in the routine this year too. That's what I'm going to definitely pick your brain with.
I got you. And I'll talk about breath work real quick because this is something I'm absolutely passionate about.
Yeah,
It changed
yeah.
my life. And the more and more that I dive deeper into the breath work, the more and more that I realize that, our cells literally listen to us on every single thing that we do, and they store energy. And through the breath work and being able to, because me, my mind's also going a million miles an hour
Right.
all the time. I'm
For
constantly
sure.
on the go. And, I don't ask any of you guys to do anything I'm not willing to do myself. But with breath work, whether it's a 5 minute, calming breath work, or we're going a full hour and a half, like very high energy, high pace. What's cool about it is that the lessons that we learn in that breathwork experience completely translates into our life. Same thing with the cold plunge. Like the quicker that we can adapt our breath in the cold exposure, the quicker we're going to adapt on the field or in our relationship with our wife, or maybe your partner or your kids. Um, and so, one of the things that I'll be working with you on this season is definitely breath work, setting maybe a pre-game breath work, a post-game breath work for the recovery side. Getting, if we're having a rough day, or we're having a awesome day, it doesn't matter. It's just staying consistent within that moment. So breath work's a big key thing. Sauna, let's talk about that, because you've definitely been diligent on that, and it's one thing that I think with heat exposure is just another form of stress on the body and adaptation, so that way we can break through. Talk about how sauna's affected you this off season, over the last few seasons, and how you see it helping you this year.
Yeah, the Therasage sauna that ended up getting through you is awesome, especially because of the red light. So I think it's kind of a two birds kind of situation there with
Absolutely.
the red light. And for me, it's something that I throw that in at the end of the day. Just kind of like after the end of the day, hit a shower, and then that's that. But I think for me, being able to just get that sweat, and the sauna's a little bit easier for me personally than the cold plunge, but it's I feel like I just feel better when you get out, you sweat out some of that, some of the toxins, whatever it is. And I think it's just all kind of when you got a good routine like that, where when you start your day with the cold plunge and with the sauna, or cold plunge again, whatever it is, I think you're putting your body through those stressors, and your body's getting used to being able to take those on. And obviously you're getting inflammation out of the body. So for me, it's something that just kind of another thing I have to kind of just get yourself in a good headspace.
Yeah, and oxygen's so important to us. And I've just been introduced to this over the last couple of years, but I currently use TheraAir in the clinic, and I got you to get one. And the more and more that I use the TheraAir, the more and more that, like, I look at my blood markers on a consistent basis, and I look at my energy levels. And doing endurance sports. We'll talk about endurance sports here in a minute, but talk about what you have felt and seen with using TheraAir, which is the nano oxygen technology. And it's more absorbable. It's literally taking rainforest air out of the rainforest. Talk about some of the experiences you've had with that.
Yeah, it's been really cool to I mean use all those products, and the
Mhm.
Therair is something that when you use you do feel better. It's like something you can't explain, but been a I've have a hyperbaric chamber. I've been using that for a while, and obviously we've talked about it. It's not always the easiest thing to get in
Yeah.
that thing, and it's a process sometimes. So having the Therair to be able to just pop that thing on and use it for anywhere from 20 to an hour, and while you can just do it while you're watching TV, whatever you want to do, and it's you're getting a lot out of it. Whether that's I feel less inflamed after I
Yeah.
do that. I feel a little bit more clear, and I feel definitely more energy. So I don't know if have you ever drank the water after you've
I
done
have
it.
not, but I should.
So I don't know where I heard it. I think I heard it on the video. But I drink the water sometimes after.
Well, it's restructured and it's completely bioavailable, I guess you'd say,
For
right?
sure.
And it's energy, and so you're drinking the cleanest form of that water that you can possibly get. So I'm gonna definitely try that. I have not done that one. Um, Talk about strength training, because I always tell people I'm like when I'm working with my athletes, I'm your sniper. I'm looking to see, are you efficient? Can you repeat and be consistent in the movements that you're doing to do what you want to do? But training is your real treatment. Talk about your off season, what you do from a strength perspective, how you stay healthy on that.
Yeah, this off season, and every off season, I've whether I've been training at different gyms. This year, I trained at Exos. I've trained at Conti Sports before. I used to train at the Boris uh, facility when I was in California, and I used to live there. But I think no matter what it is, it's when you're younger, you're trying to probably put on more muscle and build strength. And then as you kind of transition and you get into the middle part of your career, you have the strength, you're maintaining the strength. Now you're kind of focused more on mobility and being athletic still and running. So for me, did a little bit more run. I've been doing more and more running every year, probably more lifting, maybe not as heavy of weight, but like just focusing on mobility and movement and just being, and if like you're talking about being efficient and being athletic, because if you can be, there's no point in having these big huge muscles or something like that if you can't use them. Not saying that I have big huge muscles, but just
Massive.
in general. But if you can't move properly, you can't even use the strength that you have. So for me, it's about trying to move properly, and even whether that's working at with strength or working in the batter's box and practicing things. I'm just trying to use the ground, move well, be mobile through the middle of my body. And I think this is probably the best my body's felt in a while, just because of focusing on all the stuff that we've been doing, focusing on the way that I move. And my arm feels really good, my legs feel really good, I feel fast. So I'm moving good, and I didn't have to lift as hard as I usually do.
I love that. One thing that you just mentioned is the ground, and it's something I preach so heavily. It's our best friend, whether we're a hitter, we're a pitcher, we're a field player. And what are some things that you have done over your career to get to know the ground better? Some drills or exercises that you do to help you own that, because that only makes you a better player overall.
Yeah, and something that I struggle with sometimes when I'm hitting is I come out of the ground, I come up, and don't that's not what you want to do. So I think I always am overemphasizing getting into the ground, using the ground, trying to drive in all my force down into the ground. Well, I guess obviously through contact as well, but like overemphasizing, over exaggerating using the ground, especially in the batter's box. Luckily, defensively, it's something that I've always kind of stayed low, used the ground before. Um, but even in training, you're working on screwing into the ground, or being whether you're doing single, whether it's lifting or even doing like jumps or single leg things, like you're trying to put as much force into the ground as you can. And I think that's something that's very valuable. And if you can you know have good awareness of what your feet and your body are doing into the ground, you can really use it to explode and be forceful and athletic.
What are some of the things you do to take care of your feet?
Come see you.
um, when you got, and the reason I say this, I'm a huge fan of toe spreaders and creating functional feet using balance boards. There's a lot of things out there nowadays that you can get, like Blackboard and everything else. But when you really understand the ground and you can put force in the ground gives you force back. And that's one key concept I want everybody to listen to today that's listening that wants to be a great athlete. Because oftentimes, if you've got a guy and they can't get into the ground and they slide out, well, all of a sudden, they're casting, they're losing power,
sure.
they're less efficient.
We've all been there.
Yes. What would you say is when we look at pitching, right? What are some what's your favorite pitch that you love to go after that you just know okay, that I've got this? Let me ask this: how do you study as a hitter? Like when you're looking at being as good as you are at hitting.
So there's a few things you can do. Obviously, you don't want to go in there and feel unprepared, and you don't want to go in there and feel like you're so overanalyzing things. I think there's a fine line. I think the best thing for me is, I like to watch video, see if I can pick up, what it helps now that I've been around for a while, because I know how guys pitch me or certain teams' philosophies, how they pitch or how they want to pitch me and get me out, or if they attack guys differently in runners in scoring position situations, whatever the case may be. So I definitely take those things into account, like the situation, score of the game, where the runners are, outs, inning, but for me, I keep that in mind. I also keep in mind, how this guy's been, if it's a starter, how he's been just pitching throughout the game. Cause, you might think one thing and then comes out that day and he doesn't have his fastball and he's throwing a lot of off speed, or, he doesn't have feel for this pitch or something like that. So always, being a baseball player first and being able to watch and being able to be a student of the game and understand, what's going on while you're playing. But for me also, just trusting that, at the end of the day, these pitchers do make mistakes. What pitch do I want to hit the most? And for the most part, most guys in the league are probably, looking for a fastball until they get proven otherwise. And then obviously guys start sitting on off speed pitches or sitting on pitches in certain locations. I mean, there's definitely all those kinds of things that come into play. But for me, in a perfect world, I want to get myself into account where I can get a fastball drive.
I love that. When you look at traveling, because being a professional athlete, you're on the road all the time. What are some of the things that you keep consistent when you travel? Whether it's a room, temperature, anything, is there anything you just consistently keep at?
Definitely the hotel room as cold as you can get it. When you're traveling, so, it's hard when you're traveling sometimes because, the boys, we like to have fun on the plane and, have a good time. And especially after, you win a series. So sometimes you might get into a town late and you might be a little bit dehydrated, but, I think you could bring, hydrate when you get into town, definitely sleep. Somebody likes to say rest is a weapon. So sleep, catching up on some sleep, after a big travel day, making sure that you really get the body moving. I think that the biggest thing for me is, every travel day is different. Some days you are recovering well, some days you might not be recovering well. Sometimes you might go out to dinner with the guys and have a good time, whatever it is. But I think the biggest thing for me is the day after travel day that's the day you want to really have a great warm up. That's the day you want to have a sweat, because usually it's a night game anyways the next day if you're traveling. So you have more time at the field, get there early, get, maybe a contrast day in, maybe some extra soft tissue stuff, so, just being smart, it's like I said, you can always have fun, but just being able to, take care of your body. And on those long travel days, just, you got to be able to, the next day bounce back and, really make sure you're getting your body going.
You got to work hard and play hard.
For sure.
No, obviously, Kowalski and I, I'm like a white belt in endurance sports right now. He's like the Yoda, top of the top, right? When you retire, and because we have to talk about doing endurance sports, how do you see endurance sports growing, or even as lessons for athletes that are developing?
Yeah, I don't know too much about endurance sports, but if I had something to say about it, it would be that I think the most valuable thing you could probably get from it, besides obviously getting in good shape, would probably be mental toughness. Just because to push yourself for that long and to be able to, I can't imagine how many times you're doing a Ironman and you want to just quit, or you want to just stop, or if you're running a marathon and you just want to stop, whatever it is, being able to push past that, quiet that, and just continue to push. So I think the amount of mental toughness that it creates is probably unmatched with, unless you're doing some sort of combat sport, but I think that, you just get a lot of mental toughness and learn how to push through pain and adversity. And, it'll only help you when things maybe don't go your way.
Growing up, did you do any martial arts at all?
I wish I did. I want my kids one day to do that. I think that being able to first off have discipline like that, but also being able to have the confidence that you can protect yourself and you know what you're doing gives you confidence and gives you, and I think something when I was younger was that I could have used a little bit more of was that confidence and a little bit more belief in myself in certain areas. So I think that, had I had something like that in my life at a younger age, I think it could have made me more confident and had a little bit more, self-confidence in myself to carry myself differently in situations. So I think that's, something I always see valuable is like most people, obviously you can use it for the wrong reasons, but the people that are a lot of people in martial arts, it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset, and they carry themselves the right way, and they have confidence, and they're not scared to handle themselves in certain situations. So I think that it's a good thing for people to have.
I love that. Now I want to bring up Taylor.
Yeah,
because relationships are so important,
for sure.
and something I've filled out in the past with traveling so much and doing so many things. And one thing I admire about you and her is your relationship and how much you love her and how much she loves you. And what are some of the key things with people listening out there to keep a healthy relationship, especially when you've got someone traveling so much? You've got big goals, you've got aspirations, you've got, during the season you're on the road, off season you've got a finite schedule of like what to do, when to do it, how to do it. What are some of the things that you have done with her in your relationship that has made it healthy and successful?
Yeah. First off, it takes a strong woman to be able to deal with the baseball life and professional sports in general. I think people just assume that, you make a bunch of money and everything's just easy for you. But, we're moving 3 different places a year and traveling and going around, and people are pulling you a million different directions, not only me, but her. And so there's a lot that goes into it that people don't see. So, first off, for her to be able to handle everything that we've had to go through, I think it takes a special person, and I knew that she was that person when I met her. But I think for us as we've grown, older and together, it's just being able to communicate and being able to understand each other better and where they're at, and be able to put each other first in different situations, and which is something when you're younger, you put yourself first or your friends first, or whatever it is. And that doesn't mean that like that mean obviously baseball is a priority and things are a priority, but it's like we're able to maybe understand how the other person is feeling that day or put them in different situations. So I think for me it's probably that more than anything is just finding ways how we just continue to understand each other more and get on the same page.
Very cool. Do you guys, like, when you look at the stadiums that you've played, what are some of your favorite stadiums to play?
Fenway is probably my favorite stadium to play at. Wrigley was a lot of fun too. It has the I know Kowalski's gonna like that, but it has a lot of that old school charm. I just haven't played there as much. I've only played there once. So I played at Fenway a lot. I think it's just, I playing in the American League East and then also the American League for 5 years. Played there a lot. I was a Red Sox fan when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So my dad took me there when I was like 11 years old, and I just fell in love with it. And they ended up winning the World Series that year and breaking the curse. So that kind of helps.
Yeah.
In 2004. So that, I think just going and doing that and seeing that stadium, I fell in love with it. And then watching the Red Sox Yankees rivalries growing up was a lot of fun. And then getting to play there and walk through the same tunnels and same hallways that, Babe Ruth and all these guys walk through. I think it's the most baseball feel of a place that I've played at. And it just, it's something that I never take for granted playing there. You love playing there, and a good place to hit too. So that helps.
That energy, right?
For sure.
Awesome. Well, spring training's here. We don't know where we're going yet.
Not yet.
That's okay. What are you most excited about this season for you?
Most excited about the season for me. I guess just the fact that the work that I've put in this off season, I feel really good. I feel confident. I know that I'm going to have a great season. I believe in myself, and from a personal standpoint, just in a good spot, and I think me and Taylor are ready to handle whatever we get thrown at us. So that gives me confidence. I feel really good. I feel like it's going to be a good year. And and then get that contract stuff kind of taken care of, get that out of the way, and then just focus on winning. That's all I want to do. That's really all I want to do is just win. So focus on winning and do whatever I can to win.
Any piece of advice you want to give anybody?
If we're going to talk to the little kids about baseball, I think just, we were talking about having fun earlier. But, along with all these, showcases and things and all this exposure that kids want to get and, be the best at, the hardest hitter, the fastest thrower, the fastest runner. And, at the end of the day, it's not a showcase, it's about winning baseball games, no matter how high you get to. And if you want to make it to the highest level, you got to be a winning baseball player. And there's guys that play in the major leagues now that don't know how to do that. And it's, I think that that's something that you really work on, because that's what's valuable. And that's something that'll get noticed and stand out more than the talent, because guys are talented everywhere. But if you're a winning baseball player, you're going to find ways to stay in the major leagues, and you're going to find ways to actually help your team win. And that's what you're here for, is to win baseball games. And that's fun, so it's about winning.
I love that. So win your morning, win your routine, be consistent, win your day.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Matt, I love you, dude. I'm so excited for
Thank
you.
you for having me.
And I'm just honored and grateful that we get the time that we get, and that you even took time to get on here with us today to just help empower people. And dude, I can't wait to see what you do this season in life. And I'm just really excited for you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Love you, dude.
Love you too.
Ciao, boys.
Wow. And that's a wrap.
Dude, that was awesome.
That was great.
See ya.